marijuana arrests annually, a new issue emerges. Once you start gathering a large group of prisoners, where do you put them all?
Well, private prisons are scary as all shit. And they're scary as all hell for a very simple reason. They make it highly profitable to incarcerate people.
We've lost track of how ridiculous some of the things we do are. So we're going to give people a profit motive in putting more people in jail. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen.
Corrections Corporation of America is the Hilton of the private prison industry, a multi-billion-dollar business that's getting rich off punishment.
We are CCA.
The more people locked up behind bars and the longer they stay there, the more money CCA makes. Last year, the company banked a reported $1.7 billion.
When you have a privatized prison, there's a contract between the state and the prison that the state has to maintain a certain occupancy rate in the prison.
Meaning that the state guarantees that the prison stay will be from anywhere from 80% to 100% full.
Crime could go down. It doesn't matter. The taxpayers are still on the hook, and the government is still on the hook for filling up your prisons.
Well, where do you get these numbers from?
The easiest way to make sure that the quotas are full in these private prisons is to get the low-hanging fruit, which is just the drug user as a criminal rather than someone who might need a bit of medical help.
And that means that every fourth person in the world in jail is a citizen of the land of the free.
You just become a commodity rather than a human being, churned through the system to make money for these big corporations.
If we go on down this path, we'll see more and more laws being invented and created to justify the imprisonment of more and more people. Public money will ironically be plunged into persuading us that that is right.
Each state is constantly arguing about the fact that they don't have enough money for their public education. But then at the same time, they'll take state funds, or in a lot of cases federal money, and put it into the prison system.
Now this is Carl Holton School. It's been closed for some time now, and in its place will rise a hospital prison with over 1,700 beds.
California, since 1980, we have built 23 prisons. We've hired 14,000 prison guards, and we've fired 5,000 teachers.
West Virginia is strapped for money, but we're building another prison here. Got to. A lot of people getting arrested here.
Most states are just like mine of California. The largest, strongest political lobby group in our state is the Prison Guards Union.
You have unions that are lobbying to make sure that certain drugs stay illegal, regardless of how safe they are, to make sure that prisons are filled, because prisons extract money from the system. It's insanity.
It's not rational or logical. It's financial. Money is the backdrop to everything. You can't even run from it. I try to see other things or put, other perspectives on it, but it always boils down to money.
We've even seen places like Pennsylvania where judges have gone and faced high federal sentences for actually streamlining children into these private facilities.
A former juvenile court judge in Pennsylvania could face more than 10 years in prison after being convicted in a kids for cash scheme. Prosecutors say he used children as pawns, locking them up unjustly in a plot to get rich.
Remember my son? An all-star wrestler? He's gone. He shot himself in the heart. You scumbag! You ruined my fucking life!
And what could be more harmful to oneself than being sent to prison? No effect of the drug can be possibly as harmful as doing jail time for consuming it.
And they end up with a criminal record. What does that do to them? They could lose their job. In some parts of the world, they will lose their housing. They will lose the right to education.
There's a fucking kid who just got arrested recently for having marijuana on him. They put him in jail, and he had an extreme food allergy. He asked them if there was any milk in any of their products. They wouldn't answer him. They gave him food. He ate it. He fucking died in jail.
How criminal is that? What they've made illegal isn't the problem, right? The problem is the policy itself.
This business about drug offenses, I mean, it's time we stop locking up people for possession of marijuana.
Selects people that it puts in jail. So we see widely disparate penalties among socioeconomic groups, among racial groups.
White people and black people in this country do drugs at the same rate. So they should be arrested at the same rate. But the reality is, of course, that's not remotely true. Across the nation, blacks are arrested at 4 times the rate of whites. Now, in some places, like Minneapolis, Washington, D.C., Iowa, it's 8 times the rate. So why in the world would you be arresting Black Americans at 8 times the rate, or even nationwide at 4 times the rate of whites? They're using it at the same rate. You have no excuse.
If you're a young black man walking around the streets of London today, you are 9 times more likely to be stopped and searched on suspicion of carrying drugs.
I've risen through classes, so I know, you know what I mean, the difference. Growing up in Pittsburgh, just being on the streets, if I got, caught with some weed, they're gonna look at me as I'm selling some weed or I'm trying to get some weed to one of their kids. I look like a threat. But when I started rapping and started associating myself with other people, started getting money, and they're like, oh, he's not dangerous. He can smoke.
The war on drugs is one of those issues that highlights very clearly there's one law for the rich and powerful and one law for the rest of us.
HSBC is a giant bank that actually laundered money for the Mexican drug cartels, billions of dollars. Nobody went to jail.
Naturally, if there's a big bank that is laundering money for drug cartels, they should face a federal prosecution and criminal charges. But that's not what happened. They got a fine of $1.9 billion.
Well, what's a fine to HSBC? It's pocket change. It's one of the costs of doing business, and nobody goes to jail. And a mother of 4 is arrested for $30 worth of pot, and she's put in jail for 10 years. There's a simple difference. The people at HSBC are in the elite. The woman with the $30 worth of pot is not. Every animal that's ever had a hierarchical social structure going all the way back to lizards, lobsters, and puppy dogs has built that structure on prohibition. And there's always been a chicken at the bottom of the pecking order. And the one on the bottom of the pecking order ends up in a miserable, god-awful, pecked on state. And that isn't mankind's social invention. That is Mother Nature's social invention. Does that mean it's good? Hell no. And it's our job to reverse it, natural or not. Empathy is all it really takes to open up the avenues of outrage and realize how appalling this is. Let's remember something, boys and girls. Jails are there for people who hit us over the head when we're walking down the street. Jails are there for people who break into our homes and loot the place. Jails are there for people who do genuine harm. So I have no right to put them in jail for having a different lifestyle than mine. In fact, if I were to do that, it would be criminal.
And yet, the war on marijuana continues on.